Good evening, welcome to Carrow Road. Fresh and somewhat temporary new beginnings for Norwich City tonight. They host Reading here in the Championship. Of course, the first game of Alan Russell and Steve Weaver's temporary reign in charge of the Canaries following Dean Smith's dismissal earlier this week. And we shall have the team news for you any second now. We have seen Todd Cantwell, Danel Sanani and Dimi Yanulis completing some warm-ups over the other side of the pitch. It doesn't look like they're going to be involved in the squad. But we shall see what it looks like when the team news drops, and it should come any moment now.
Alan Russell's here.
Alan Russell is definitely here.
Stuart Webber.
More
pertinently, with a manager to find, or a head coach to find. He's firmly ensconced in Carrow Road this evening.
Absolutely, yeah. And here we go. We have the team news for you. Nunez and McCallum return. Adam Eder starts. So Norwich City lineup with Gunn in goal. Aarons, Hanley, Gibson and McCallum, Sarah, McLean, Nunez, and it looks like Sargent, Eder, Pookie. So that looks like a very, very attacking lineup. The subs bench, Tim Krul, Andrew Omobamidele, Isaac Hayden, Jordan Hugill makes the bench, Kieran Dow, Onel Hernandez and Liam Gibbs. So run through that Norwich City lineup for you again. Gunn in goal, Aarons, Hanley, Gibson and McCallum the back four, Sarah, McLean and Nunez as a midfield three, with Eder, Sargent and Pookie looking like a front three. Alan Russell promised attacking. That's certainly attacking pad. Three strikers in Norwich City's lineup this evening.
Yeah, I'll just cross-referencing with Saturday's game. Luton. Bank holiday Monday, wasn't it? Boxing Day. No Gibbs, he drops out, and Yanulis drops out completely the 18. So that would be the two changes. Yeah. Well, Eder starts as well. So there's another one there on Bamidele, of course. So, he's delivered in the sense of he wants them on the front foot, he wants them to be aggressive, and he wants less of the shall we say, dallying about with it in the deeper areas of the pitch and not really doing too much. And so that's why I thought Sarah played tonight, because when he started talking about midfield runners, that's his game to a T. I did think he'd bring Nunez back in. Thought he might keep Gibbs because he's got that dynamism, but Kenny McLean is an important cog in this machine, and he's retained him in the lineup. But top end of the pitch, that really is, a signal of intent. We saw it second half at Kenilworth Road, but it was more Eder alongside Pookie with Sargent just behind. Don't feel, looking at that setup, we're going to have that tonight. It's going to be, you would think, Pookie down the middle, flanked by Sargent, flanked by Eder. From memory, I don't think we've seen that at the start of a championship game this season, given Adam Eder's been out for the majority of it. So that's a real bold statement of intent, and it certainly tells Reading, and more importantly, maybe the home fans in attendance tonight, that Norwich want to get about Reading and want to really pin them back. And as Alan Russell did say to us yesterday, his message to his players is go and play in dangerous areas. Well, if you've got a front three of that magnitude for this level, supplemented by Zara, by Nunez, then you're basically saying to the opposition, we do want this game to take place in your part of the pitch. So Reading will have something to say about that, I'm sure, but you couldn't have sent out more of a signal of intent, I think, with that lineup. Your thoughts, Connor?
Attacking, which was promised. It's going to be interesting to see what sort of structure it takes, but also just quite what that midfield looks like as well in reality when it comes to the pitch. I'll read you the Reading lineup. They've made one change from their victory over Swansea on Tuesday. They've got Lumley in goal, Holmes, Sarr and McIntyre as the back three, Yandam, Hendrick, Loom and Hoylett as a midfield four, obviously with two wing backs, with Tom Ince behind Zhao and Andy Carroll, who's wearing number 2 this evening, which is not good for those fans of squad numbers. Their subs bench, Buzanis, Scott Dan, Shane Long, Yaku Miete, Baba Rahman, Nesta Guinness-Walker and Amadou Mbwene as well. So that is Reading's team. One change for them. I guess we've spent a little bit of this week talking about the winners and maybe even the losers from Dean Smith's departure. I mean, it's obviously the same personnel players. They've not had a massive period of time, as Alan Russell stressed when he spoke on. It's that period of time. I don't know what day of the week it was. Thursday. That's the one. But that is quite a gear change, a step change from what we've seen from Norwich City in terms of formation and in terms of personnel in some areas. Yeah,
and he probably wouldn't want to divulge it too much, but I'm sure that is a reflection of conversations he's had with players, particularly the senior players. They will have had to be firmly buying into what he's trying to do here. He knows he hasn't got, as he said yesterday, a minute to spare, let alone a game, let alone 2 games, which is the brief he's been given thus far at this stage, today and Watford on Monday. So you need immediate buy-in, and I think that's the type of personnel and also the shape. If we assume, as I think we can now, that it's going to be 4-3-3, that those players, I'm sure, will readily buy into that because they're not daft. They're out there trying to carry out what the previous coach wanted them to, and it wasn't working palpably. Culminating in the events that were folded here rather toxically against Blackburn, where they just were rigidly trying to pass it from Gunn to Hanley to Gibson out to the fullbacks, and Blackburn just pressed them, closed them down, and that just induced panic on the pitch and frustration off it. So, hence, to repeat what I said initially, Alan Russell doesn't really want to see that. He wants to move forward a lot quicker. He wants plenty of support runners to those front three, and let's put the pressure on Reading. So, I'd imagine, in a quieter moment, if you would speak to Mezzers Hanley, McLean, Pookie, they'd probably warmly welcome that shape and that type of personnel because there's no doubt whatsoever what Norwich are going to try and do tonight, and that's get on the front foot against the team who come here 3 wins in 4. We've talked about what we did in the build-up with Alan Russell, at the presence of Andy Carroll, and he caused them a lot of problems down in Berkshire in that draw earlier in the season. So they won't have it all their own way by any manner of means. But as Alan Russell said rather boldly, we're Norwich City. We don't need to worry about Reading, or we shouldn't worry about Reading. Norwich City, this group of players, many of them have been over this course and distance successfully twice before, should be good enough to put away this Reading team tonight, even a Reading team on the op. So, to broaden it out, I'm looking at the bench, and we've seen Jordan Hugo back in again in terms of this bringing players with you. Very popular figure within the dressing room, hadn't been making even benches under Dean Smith. Not saying he would have in any way, shape or form been a disruptive influence, but the fact that he's in and amongst it and he feels part of it again tonight, that has to help the general mood around the place, I think. And, it wouldn't surprise me at all tonight if we see a completely different performance from this group of players. And you can debate whether that's an indictment on them as individuals, that they couldn't turn it on, or whether they're just freed from the shackles of Dean Smith and Craig Shakespeare and what they were trying to impose on them, that, with a bit more freedom, a bit more expression. Again, Alan Russell spoke a lot of sense yesterday. These are good professionals. They're playing at this level for a reason. Give them the belief and let them go in what they can do, and just give them that canvas almost to go and paint some nice pictures. And, I think most fans coming here tonight, now that team news has dropped, on top of what Alan Russell said yesterday and how he said it, they're going to be excited. And that certainly wasn't the case here not all that long ago at the final whistle against Blackburn.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how this functions. It's a very attacking starting 11. It's going to be interesting whether we see Sargent and Ida, and we see it as quite a flat, narrow 4-3-3 with them very advanced fullbacks, which is a possibility, or whether we see it as perhaps more traditional and we see perhaps Sargent and Ida, I would presume. I can't imagine Pookie being one of the wide options, but I guess that's a possibility. Or whether we see it a bit more stretched, obviously that might vary in and out of possession. And he was keen to reiterate yesterday that actually just because players are playing in certain starting positions, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it looks when it's on the pitch. So it's going to be really interesting. But in terms of that midfield, Pads, we've spoken a lot this year about, and particularly towards the start of the season where Isaac Hayden wasn't fit, and there was a lot of conversation about that defensive midfield role. Isaac Hayden has come in. I think we've seen flashes, probably very, very few flashes, in honesty, of what he can do. Liam Gibbs has came on recently and was quite dynamic, certainly here when he came off the bench against Blackburn. Well, tonight there isn't kind of what you describe as a natural defensive midfielder in there. Kenny McLean, we have seen do that role, so that wouldn't be particularly surprising. But is there a concern about the lack of protection in that Norwich City midfield, especially considering what they're going to be coming up against tonight in terms of Reading, who will look to move the ball quickly and also, you would imagine, look to transition quickly?
Yeah, well, I mean, keep referring back to what Alan Russell said, and he said Reading have 2 midfield runners who want to get forward and break, like a lot of teams in this division. It's almost Norwich are saying, cards on the table, we think we've got better players, we can carry that game plan out better than you, and we're going to put that to the test tonight. So I'm not saying he's been reckless and he's not working on the threats Reading can pose, because clearly they have talked about that, no doubt. But maybe tonight it's just, it's about us. It's ultimately about Norwich imposing their will as individuals, collectively, this crowd as one, and pinning Reading back. And if they do that, then it won't really be a case of have Norwich got enough midfield protection in front of that back four. I just hope we see Nunes from the early season, and I think that break has to have helped him because he was looking quite weary. Played a lot of football for Chile as well as Norwich,
and also didn't get a pre-season in the natural sense. Came
straight through.
Was catapulted from playing in Chile into the Championship. That's quite almost chucking him in the deep end, isn't it?
So you would think there'll be a freshness to his game, and if we get the Nunes of early in the season, then there's no doubt Norwich have a very, very influential player on their hands. And as I say, Zara, that is his game. His natural game is to break forward and make those runs beyond forward players. That, to a T, is what Alan Russell is calling for. So I think the clean of those three, obviously, it's obvious to say he will be the one who maybe is having to be a little more defensively disciplined. But everything seems geared, both what Alan Russell was saying to us, now this team and the shape, to getting the ball forward quickly. So I don't think Alan Russell would expect the game, or at least hope that the game is in and around the edge of Norwich's box, where it certainly was too often here under Dean Smith in those last 7 games, 1 win, 7 league games, unacceptable in front of your own fans. And again, that was something Alan Russell talked about. Any league, anywhere in Europe, anywhere in the world, you're home for is what you rely on. I think he talked about it in the terms of that's a catalyst, that's what drives momentum, it brings players and fans with you, and everything we're seeing, everything we're hearing from him suggests that he understands that, appreciates that, and tonight it's a statement. Has to be a statement, has to be a line in the sand. What's gone has gone. They win tonight, they go 4th in the table again. Yes, I know the top 2 are feeling that they're over the hill, but there's plenty of games, plenty of points. I don't think Norwich need even to be worrying too much about where the top 2 are at the minute. It's all about trying to turn the page and get a sense of forward momentum, and then who knows where that takes you. There's still, as I say, more or less half the season left to go. So, let's just hope after tonight it does feel like a new dawn rather than a false dawn.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll come to you for the score prediction in a moment, but obviously Norwich are on the search for a new head coach. I've got the programme in front of me here. There's a column from Zoe Webber all about the decision to sack Dean Smith, and also what lies ahead. And obviously we're expecting Norwich City to try and fail a new coach relatively soon. Obviously definitely not for Monday's game, but a little bit of a prolonged break, and then until next Sunday, isn't it, when Blackburn come here in the FA Cup. What do you make of what we've seen, the names we've heard banded around? This search, it still feels like it's in relatively early stages. So what have you made of it so far? What's been your sense and your feeling around it?
Well, dealing in facts, which is the currency for me when you get these periods and there's endless amounts of speculation, and that's Alan Russell has been given the brief by Stuart Webber that he's in charge, him and Steve Weaver, for these next 2 games. I think that would then, if I've got my maths right, take them to Blackburn in the FA Cup,
yep.
which would then take them on to the following week, I'm assuming. I'm not checking the fixtures.
Away,
So you can see where the thought process there, that you get these 2 out of the way, and then you've almost got a fortnight, because I think the FA Cup is neither here nor there in the bigger picture, to get it right. And that's why, if you're giving yourself 14 plus days as it is from this point, but clearly, the clock started ticking as soon as Dean Smith was dismissed on Tuesday. Then at this stage, we're still very much in, I think, the collation. There'll be agents of managers in and out of work, no doubt, who've been on the phone. Zoe Ward Webber alluded to that in her column tonight. So it's a sifting process. Norwich will have their own ideas who they want to go and target. I think you did a piece. It seems a very clear binary choice. You either go domestic and somebody who has experience of, ideally, the Championship, but failing that English football and understands it, as a working knowledge of these players, which you would think, given the stated aim again, is Premier League promotion this season. They may tilt towards that, or the alternative is, and we've seen the lad at Hamburg linked, Daniel Parker previously, of course, you go for more of a longer-term strategy and maybe bring somebody in who you hope, because they also talked in that Smith's exit statement about a consistent style of play and bringing that back. Are you looking to build something which flies slightly in the face? Of course, you'd hope whoever came in had an instant impact and on they go. But if it wasn't to happen, that you can see that, okay, there's now something in terms of a new phase getting built with a head coach who buys into a philosophy, which, and more importantly for me, that these fans could get behind, because they certainly didn't get behind what Dean Smith was serving up on the pitch over the last 13 months. I think it's too early at this stage to sort of say definitively that Norwich's needle is ticking either to maybe an overseas type of appointment who doesn't really know the English game, or more domestic based, and that may become clearer in these days ahead. But ultimately, I think by that Preston game, the new man will be in place, and then we'll know definitively, obviously. But it's no surprise some of the names have been linked. You know, there's a bit of a merry-go-round feel to some of the names. I think we can dismiss the likes of Steve Bruce and that. I think that's somebody in a bedroom.
Can we?
I think we probably can, yeah. I don't think they'd be able to pull that one off, not after the Dean Smith era. So I'm not even sure Wilder would possibly be one they could pull off, although he's less toxic than probably Steve Bruce. But ultimately, it wouldn't surprise me if the actual candidate hasn't even appeared yet, because that's the nature of how these things get put together. Who'd heard of Daniel Farker prior to 3 or 4 days, I think it was, before he was unveiled? So we'll see how creative Stuart Webber wants to be. But he's here tonight, so he's not on a plane anywhere. He's watching his charges, and you know, we have to say at this stage, I put it to Alan Russell yesterday, he's made no secret of his longer-term head coach ambitions. We have form for that. Neil Adams, Brian Gunn. I'm not saying that's in Norwich's thoughts at the moment, but you get 2 very good performances in these next 2 games and 2 wins. I think you'll start people touting Alan Russell, and that's the nature of the beast. So, you know, best at this stage probably not to nail our colours to any particular master.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of caretakers being given permanent jobs. I must be honest, but we'll see what transpires. Pat, very, very quickly, one word, score prediction for tonight. Well, maybe a few words because it's numbers, but
3-1 Norwich, mate. 3-1.
Yeah, I'm going the same. I'm going to go 3-0 actually. I think it's going to be pretty comprehensive. So let's see how it transpires. Pinker.com and the Pinker Plus app, the place to go for all the coverage, analysis and reaction, and of course the latest on Norwich City's hunt for a new head coach. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the game, whether you're here at Carrow Road tonight or watching on from home. And of course, a very happy New Year. This is the last one of these before 2023. So I hope you have a good New Year and enjoy the celebrations. Thank you very much for watching.